Success comes through curiosity, dedication, hard work, and perseverance. Meet the legend, who is Indian at heart, global in spirit, and through sheer tenacity, etched his name in the history of ophthalmology.
Respected seniors, colleagues, and my dear friends, welcome to the program Eye to Eye, where we take you through the incredible journey of the legends. An astute clinician and a brilliant surgeon, an avid researcher and a teacher par excellence, an Indian at heart but global in spirit, and above all, a very adorable human being. Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely honored and privileged to have with us today the one and only Professor Dr. Harminder Singh Duasan. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation to the program Eye to Eye. Professor Dr. Duasan needs no introduction, but for the benefit of our viewers, I'd like to present a few highlights of his professional achievements.
Professor Dr. Harminder Singh Dua, an internationally renowned ophthalmologist and a researcher, is a world authority on cornea and ocular surface diseases. Born in Jalandhar, Punjab in India, Professor Dr. Dua is the chair and professor of ophthalmology at the University of Nottingham and is the head of the Division of Ophthalmology and Visual Sciences. Prior to this, he was an associate professor at the Thomas Jefferson University, Philadelphia. Earlier, he completed his medical education from the Government Medical College and Hospital, Nagpur in Maharashtra, India. In a 2013 paper, Professor Dr. Dua reported the discovery of a previously unknown layer of the human cornea measuring just 15 microns, which was acclaimed by ophthalmologists and scientists all over the world. His discovery has made corneal lamellar surgery even more safer and has improved our understanding of corneal diseases. This paper alone has over 355 citations with further scientific evidence published independently by researchers in the field. In 2001, he also proposed the Dua's classification for chemical injuries in the eye. He has numerous research publications, published letters, and book chapters to his credit. Professor Dr. Dua has enhanced clinical and basic knowledge in ophthalmology through over 365 publications and over 1,000 orations, lectures, and presentations in international meetings. His H index is 68 and his total citations are over 17,000. His surgical innovations are practiced internationally and have changed clinical practice. As one of the 4 founders and president of Cornea, he brought to Europe an organization that has sparked the imagination of numerous trainees and specialists. He was elected to the chair of Academia Ophthalmologica Internationalis and invited to join as member of the American Ophthalmological Society. In March 2011, he was elected president of the Royal College of Ophthalmologists UK. Professor Dr. Dua is also the editor-in-chief of the British Journal of Ophthalmology, the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Cornea, board member of the International Council of Ophthalmology, and civilian consultant advisor to the Royal Air Force. He has taught generations of medical students and fellows who have gone on to become distinguished ophthalmologists. His corneal surgery course, run at the Royal College of Ophthalmologists UK annually for the last 10 years, is always fully subscribed. He has served ophthalmology nationally and internationally as the first chair of the Clinical Council for Eye Health Commissioning, England, served on the International Steering Committee of the Dues 2 workshop, and is the immediate past master of the Oxford Ophthalmological Congress. Professor Dua sir has received over 125 international awards, medals, and honors for his work. He was appointed a Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire for services to eye health care, health education, and to ophthalmology in the Queen's Birthday Honours in June 2019. He has also received the Rotary International Global Alumni Service to Humanity Award in 2013 in Lisbon. Sir has received the British International Doctors Association Achievement Award in 2013, the Distinguished Services Achievement Award from the American Academy of Ophthalmology in 2010, and was acclaimed as Britain's top doctor in 2010. Professor Dr. Harminder Singh Dua sir has influenced and continues to influence all aspects of ophthalmology across the globe through his activities related to teaching, training, research and innovation. We bow to you, sir.
So that was truly incredible, sir.
No, well, you've done your homework.
So you have taken the level of ophthalmic sciences and knowledge to such greater heights, but we'd like to know how it all began. I believe your father was in the Air Force and had frequent transfers. So how were your early years of schooling? And any special memories you have?
Yeah, we used to, with every transfer we had to move. So I remember I started in Pune, that was Pune then, in what was called the Bant Garden School in my nursery. And then it was mostly convent schools. When we went from there to Bangalore, we were in Gwalior, we were in Nagpur, and different places, but largely run by nuns. And so English became a second language and almost a first language for me. And the biggest thing, I remember was I was very interested in sports. But because the Air Force colonies were always far away from the city centers, I could never stay back, and all the sports activities were after school. So many times I used to miss the bus home and stay for sports, and I used to sometimes even get a beating for because my dad had to come and pick me up and all the rest. So I sort of got a bit left behind in sports. I couldn't fulfill that ambition. But my mother was very much, study. So she pushed us education more, and that became my strength.
So one of your family members wants to share a memory. Just a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amrinder Bajaj, Senior Gynecologist with Max Group of Hospitals. I am the sister of the world-famous ophthalmologist Harminder Singh Dua. Of his illustrious career of Dua's layer, you all are well aware. So I will be speaking of Harminder the person, the affectionate, generous, and loyal brother with a keen sense of humor. Though I am just 2 years older to him, my earliest memories are of Harminder following me everywhere like Mary's little lamb, even to the all-girls school which I went, much to my embarrassment. Despite the accolades he has won, which would have made the best of us arrogant, he remains down to earth and above all a good human being. Not many know that he is a poet of no mean acclaim. In fact, he wooed his wife with poetry. He is a gifted speaker, and it was a rare debate that he lost in his school or college days. Harminder has made his family, his college, his country proud. I pray that he goes from strength to strength till he reaches the pinnacle of his career. God bless him.
That is so sweet.
You choked me there. Yeah.
Sir, I believe when you were in college, you first took mathematics and you wanted to do aeronautical engineering, right? So how did you decide to take up medicine?
Well, I actually didn't want to do aeronautical engineering. I wanted to join the Indian Air Force, like my dad. So he said, no, you're going to have to go to university first and then get a degree before you join. So that sort of seemed logical to go and become an aeroplane engineer, because I didn't know the word aeronautical at that time. And that's why, and at the age, it was strange, in those days, you were 14 years old, you have to decide to take physics, chemistry, mathematics to be an engineer, or physics, chemistry, biology to be a doctor.
Okay.
So I took physics, chemistry, mathematics to engineering. And because I was studying in this convent schools, they did not take boys after class 9. This was in Gwalior, so I had to go to Delhi in the Air Force Central School, were in the boarding schools. So I made a very good friend over there. I remember his name, Kanwaljit Singh Sarai. I don't know, I've never been in touch with him since I left school. But we were there about a week before the school started, and I was with him. We used to play together, study together. But the first day in class, he wasn't there. I was worried, he's not come to the class, and where has he gone? And the first class went, the second, and the small break at 11 o'clock, I went out and I saw him playing in the ground. I said, "Why did you come to class?" He said, "No, I was in the class. You were not there." And it turns out I was in section A and he was in section 9B. And he said, "A is mathematics, I'm in biology. Come here." So I just picked my bag and went to biology, and I became a doctor.
And we all have gained from that one episode.
So it was just destiny.
Destiny.
Yeah.
So true, sir. And I think you completed your medical education in Nagpur. So how were your days at Nagpur, sir?
Nagpur, well, those are memorable days because those are the best years of your life as you're growing up from teenage into your adulthood. And because you are with the same group of friends for so long, all through medical school, 5 years, and then internship, you get to know them and lasting bonds. So very fond memories of Nagpur. We used to do a lot of debates. And
I would like to interrupt you here for just a moment. In fact, some of your friends from Nagpur also remember you. Just a moment.
I'm so happy to share my views about Dr. Duwa and equally thankful to Anagagi for giving me this opportunity. I still remember when Dr. Duwa joined Government Medical College as a first year MBBS student, a shy looking, thin 17 years old boy. Naturally, he was the target for all victims at that time and the ragging. But Dua was very strong enough. He went to our dean and convinced Dr. Dean that it should be penalized and this offense should be made that no one, and then from that time the ragging in Government Medical College stopped. That was the first instinct of Dr. Dua.
Welcome everyone. I am extremely thankful to Dr. Anaga Hirur, who included me in this rare and outstanding program of preparing and presenting a live biography of great ophthalmologist and my friend Dr. H.S. Dua. I feel privileged and fortunate for this rare opportunity. Dr. Dua is my esteemed friend right from first year of MBBS till we were awarded MD and MS degrees and we came out of that college from Government Medical College in Nagpur. Those days our friend circle was closely knit out of the 200 students who were admitted at that time in 1969 batch. With me, Dr. Srinivas Desai, Dr. Jami Nagaraj Rao and Dr. H.S. Dua. All these three are now in England. Dua is very friendly, loves his friends. He always squeezes out some time for his own friends out of his busy schedule. He is brilliant, witty in his interactions, but never belittling anyone. Likewise, he is sentimental in his responses to the patients or friends in distress. Harman Durduwa is roll number 693 of our 1969 batch of admission to course of MBBS. Today, he is a globally renowned ophthalmologist, adorning the most revered chair of Professor of Ophthalmology in Great Britain.
Thank you, Dr. Sulba ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Suryavanshi sir. How did you feel? Wasn't that truly nostalgic?
It's absolutely. In fact, Sulba Deshpande was one of my teachers. She was, I think, 1 year, 2 years senior to me. She was unit in charge when I was doing my first year of residency. So, yeah, she taught me a few things in those days. She's looking as lovely as ever in that video.
So
and Sachin, of course, Sachin is a great friend here.
So how did you get interested in ophthalmology?
That was, I think I owe it all to Professor Ishwar Chandra. He was a legend in his time. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago, but he was somebody who inspired me to sit what used to be called the MP Ophthalmic Prize for medical students. A long time back, Nagpur was in Maharashtra. So even when the medical school started, it was in Madhya Pradesh. So Nagpur was part of Madhya Pradesh before it became part of Maharashtra. So there was this prize called the MP Ophthalmic Prize. So as a medical student, he said, you must take this exam. So I studied a bit. We had this little book called Parsons Ophthalmology, and I got the prize. It was 25 rupees. And that sort of inspired me to stay on in ophthalmology, and then the rest is history. Yeah.
So here's what one of your colleagues has to say about that.
His inclination to become ophthalmologist was evident to us from student life. We all were highly impressed by a lovely teaching we received from Professor Ishwar Chandra, the then head of the department, and Dr. Dua was most influenced by two factors. One, the teaching by Dr. Ishwar Chandra, and the delicate intricacies of this subject called ophthalmology that demanded skills, intelligence to learn and practice it. It is worth mentioning that he won a coveted Prince of Wales Award for the dissertation and performance in practicals as well as the final MBBS examination in ophthalmology. He also had gold medal in distinction in ophthalmology. During post-graduation, I was indeed fortunate to be his room partner in PG hostels all through 2 years of residency. His tenacity and scholarly capacity won him 2 degrees in the same year, that is DO as well as master's degree. Concurrently, this was the first and the last of its kind in that university.
That was truly incredible.
Yeah, what we didn't mention, we used to sit in the library, and I was the only one doing ophthalmology, and we had this very thick book, 17 books called by Sir Stuart Duke Elder. That's his name, Duke Elder.
Yes, yes.
So I used to always read Duke Elder, where they used to read the medicine books, and when we had to go for coffee, Sachin used to say to me, "Ut, Duke Younger, ut, chal coffee pina jata." So because his name was Duke Elder, he nicknamed me Duke Younger. He forgot that.
That is truly wonderful, sir. So you were mentioning about debates, and you have had really your way with words. And I think you not only won over hearts, but also your opponents with your wit and humor in all those debates and competitions that you had in college. Truly, आप पर सरस्वती माँ की बड़ी कृपा है. So how was your experience in debates?
I couldn't do sports, so it just happened that because I could speak English, they presumed I could do debates and elocutions. And elocution was okay. So the debating society secretary at the time was Kimatkar, I remember, and then after that was Ramesh Mehta. Both of them are here. Well, at least Ramesh Mehta is still here in the UK. But they made me say, you have to go for this debate. And I had a social sciences teacher in school called Mr. Poddar. These just names are coming to me now that you ask this question.
Great.
When I had to give the debate, I used to go to him because my school teacher, I have to speak, what do I say? What do I do? And he used to give me some ideas, some thoughts. And he was also, political science, that sort of, he used to teach those subjects. So he had a lot of knowledge. And from there, then you got experience, you got to know. And we used to go around, me and Dr. Nagaraj Rao, as Suryavanshi mentioned, and there was another Govind Sharma. Lots of debates. Sometimes we had one after the other. We wouldn't even wait for the result. We used to give a debate for and against intercollegiate debates, and then go to another, do that, and come back to see which prizes we had won. There was one day we won 3 trophies and about 2 or 3 individual prizes all together. So Kimatkar went and he told the dean, we have to go on holiday today because we've won so many. And he, with his colored chalk, he wrote on this blackboard, terrible and never thought of. Terrible. 3 trophies in one day. He meant terrific. But I could see why he felt my English was better than his. And he used to push me for these debates. But that was one episode I remember of these debates.
So one of your colleagues also remembers something very fondly. Just a moment.
I deem it my great pleasure in recording my sense of respect for my learned senior, Dr. Harman Durduwa. I joined Government Medical College, Nagpur in the year 1972. At the given point of time, Dr. Harman Durduwa was a senior student in the medical college. He was in the 4th year of the MBBS course. The common sharing that I have with legendary Dr. Durduwa is our association grew in the context of the notable debating society of the Government Medical College, Nagpur. At the set point of time, Dr. Durduwa was an established debater, having won several accolades at various contests and had created a benchmark of his own in his unique, inimitable style. I was a fresher, but I had the flair of debating. And it is this debating which brought us very personally close to each other. Debating society was the common meeting forum. In his company and as his junior colleague, we had the privilege of participating in various intercollegiate, state level and national level debating competitions. And I'm so very happy to share that maintaining his legacy of award winning, I stepped into his shoes and I also got recognition in his company in a big way. One thing which very significantly I would like to put this across in terms of my remembrances and perceptions about legendary Dr. Durduwa is that he had a very soft voice. He was so soft in speaking, but his English was chaste, absolutely free-flowing, poetic in nature, and the words coming out as if they are just sprouting out in a form of cascade. They used to create such a magical spell on the minds of the listeners as if they were listening to some sound music. Even in the debating, the required aggression that is required when you are wanting to cross the contentions raised by opponents, his soft wit, his tremendous humor, all laced in beautiful soft-spoken English, it used to tear apart the things without even he required to be raising his voice even by the slightest count. So unique was his expression that it always definitely resulted in laying an indelible impression on the minds of everybody. I hold him in very high esteem.
That's so wonderful, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Ved Prakash Mishra, he went on to do politics, but I'm surprised he spoke in English. I mean, his Hindi is absolutely superb.
Wow.
And he is a very good orator himself. And he saw in one of those pictures, I saw two of us were trying to hold a trophy, which was probably a combined body weight. We were both very thin. Yeah, he was a very good orator himself. Speaking Hindi very nice.
Great, sir. So I remember you had been invited for a group exchange program to Pennsylvania from the Rotaries.
Yeah.
How was that experience, sir, and what did that mean to you?
That, I think, was one of the pivotal moments in my life. You know, I'd never been abroad, and this was a free trip in sense that I remember there were every Rotary club, and there were about 3 or 5 in Nagpur, picked 2 people. We had 10 or 12 people who applied, and they picked 2. And then we were 52 of us who went to Vijayawada for an interview from a district, the 315 district of Rotary, it was called in those days. And then we had an interview all day long in Vijayawada. It was 52 people. It was during the first Iran-Iraq war, long time back. And then I was one of the 5 selected. So that itself was a huge achievement for us. And then it was an all trip, all expenses paid trip to Pittsburgh. It was in Pennsylvania district in the USA. And for the first time abroad, first time actually going in an aircraft and seeing that new culture, the advanced society, and what the Rotary do are absolutely amazing, because this was, you live with American families, so you got to know them from inside. And every day they took you to something new. It's a school or a factory or a sporting event or something or the other. And then you also had Rotary meetings. One anecdote I remember, we were going to a school, and it was a junior school, and it was playtime. So there was somebody on the slide, and as we entered through the playground, one boy looked at me and said, "Hey, we're going to have a magic show." They thought that I was a magician with my turban. But so I think for them it was as much as a surprise as for me. But that was a very, very enriching experience. I think that was just unbelievable. And then that's when I thought, there is more to gain from probably pursuing some higher qualifications or experience abroad, etc.
And on your way back from Pennsylvania, I think you wrote, traveling with the sun at 24 hours daylight, let there be no darkness. How prophetic that was.
That was on the way there, because you're traveling, so you live here and you're gaining time. Yes. So we had traveled so many hours and there was never darkness. So, and I wasn't even then in ophthalmology. I was doing medicine. I was doing a house job in medicine, and I said traveling with the sun. There was all these 24 hours of lightness with light, which was like, let there be no darkness, was then probably subconsciously
right.
Something similar happened recently, in the UK. Suddenly the word blind has become like a taboo. You shouldn't refer to somebody as blind. You should say blind people. So a very world famous charity called the Royal National Institute for the Blind has changed its name to Royal National Institute of Blind People. And similarly, there's another one, the Nottingham, where I live in the city, the Nottingham Society for the Blind has changed its name to My Sight. So with that in mind, when I had gone to the Rotary meeting in Lisbon, and had asked to give an acceptance speech, I said there's something like this, and this was just came to me in a flash like that. This was, in our zest for political correctness, we fail to see that blind can be an acronym for Bring Light in Darkness, BLIND.
Wow, that's superb.
So that was something similar to what I had said then, and I have written about this and said it before in some talks, that we just take a word and we make it a taboo. But if you look at it, it can be something different.
So deep, right? So how did you decide to settle abroad, and what were your feelings at that point of time?
Yeah, so when I came on this Rotary trip, and then on my way back, I stopped with my friend Suryavanshi mentioned Srinivas Desai, who's a colleague over here as a consultant in radiology. He was already here in the UK, so I stopped for a couple of days to visit him. And I decided I'm going to go back at the time. So I came. But like everybody else, you struggle. So cultural differences are there. Weather is very different, from very hot in Nagpur to very cold over here. So even how do I put it? The summer of UK is hotter. The summer is colder than the coldest day in the winter of Nagpur. So it was very cold. And then, of course, the language, and of course, for me personally, with my attire, different, the turban. So it wasn't easy to start with, but you get embedded. At least I didn't have the language problem, so that was easy for me. But once you get in, and one of the things you have to say about the Western countries is that despite all what you hear in the news about prejudice and racism, a bit of it is there, but if they give you credit for who you are, and if you've got it in you, like you see in America, then sky's the limit. So it's not that that holds you back. So if you, like we say, if you've got that skill, the abilities, then you can find your way to the top. So it was difficult, yet not so difficult.
Let's hear what some of your colleagues thought about it. Just a moment, sir.
We both of us are student of Dr. Ishwar Chandra. Dr. Ishwar Chandra was always for student, and he always encouraged us to go around of every nook and corner of the world and get knowledge as much as you can, but come back and serve our nation. But it was an exception for Dua. He said, Dr. Dua, your brain is not meant for India. You should go abroad and work over there. And look how much correct he was. Now, at present, Dr. Dua has become the #1 research person. He's been recognized all over the world as a research person, which has brought him many of the awards. I still remember when he was of the British nationality, and that day he had to forgo his Indian passport. That day he just could not sleep throughout night, and he wrote a poem. As it is, he is very good poet. His mastery on language, both English and Hindi. He has written so many poetries, but the poem which he wrote at that night, he once in our close group he recited that poem, and the entire hall was emotional. There were tears in his eyes because the deep-rooted Dua, who is an Indian, who is still attached to Nagpur. Whenever he comes down to Nagpur, we enjoy his company so much. And today, I am so proud that we are both our colleagues. I only hope that Dua should go on rising and rising. And we are very much proud of you, Dua, that we are colleagues. You are a Nagpurian, and we still feel proud that you are also a Nagpurian. All the best to you. Go on increasing and have a positivity in this era. Thank you so much.
It is very strange, it's almost like you read my mind, because I thought I might actually, when we talked about poems, something I might share when you asked me how did I feel.
Please.
So it was not when I went to the UK, but it was the day I got British nationality. So there was those emotions. And I normally recite my poems in a tune, but I'll just read the 4 lines. It was, and excuse me if I choke up because it's always the same.
I can understand.
मेरा वतन मेरा वतन मेरा वतन मेरा वतन, इस जहां के वीरा में वो फलता फूलता चमन, मेरा वतन मेरा वतन मेरा वतन मेरा वतन, उसकी रोशनी से अब भी चमकते मेरे नयन, उसकी बहती नदियों ने सींचा ये सारा जीवन, उसके दाने दाने का कर्जदार है मेरा तन, मेरे रग रग में दौड़ता उसी का दिया था मेरा वतन मेरा वतन. This is about 4 or 5 stanzas, but this is just the first one. I thought I'll share with you.
It was so beautiful, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, in your own words, research underpins not only the present but also the future of everything that we do today. So how did you decide to take up research?
So this again, I think it goes the credit back to Professor Ishwar Chandra. I remember we were standing in the corridor and we were doing our master's degree, and Sulbha and I think there was a lady called Chimote, I forget her name, and then myself. And he was giving us theses. So he's always, with the torch in his hand. He said, "Tum ye karoge," and I think she got Sulbha Deshpande got on pseudo exfoliation, her thesis. The other lady got on medical retina, some retinal vein occlusion. He told me lens-induced uveitis. So I said, okay. I never knew what that meant. So it was the first year of our medical, of the MS, and I started reading about it. A lot of the work was on immunology, on ocular immunology with lens proteins. So I thought I'm going to give it a go. So I went to the animal house in our medical school, and he said, give me 20 rupees, I'll get you 4 rabbits. So we bought 4 rabbits and we made the antigen out of the protein and injected them and all that. And it was fascinating because they were not producing the antibodies. Then I went to the immunology teacher there and said, what's happening? Oh, he says, give them an intravenous boost. So I gave them intravenous injection to the ear vein. You shave the hair and clean it with acetone, it dilates the vein. So we did that. By the time I injected the 4th rabbit, all 3 had died, the first 3 and then the 4th one, because they had severe anaphylaxis. And then I told my friends, and they were joking, Dua ke thesis ka thesis ho gaya. Then we started again. I went to Mumbai, I got some adjuvant and I got some things. And really my MS thesis was very much on laboratory combined with the patients. Then my PhD thesis was almost entirely laboratory based in immunology of uveitis and so on. So then it sort of, something has to spark the interest and it started from there.
Some of your colleagues remember your early days where you displayed your flair for research. Just a moment.
As a MS student, he joined Department of Ophthalmology and we worked together since then. As a house officer, we used to do so many incision and curettage of chalazion, but his research mind at that time, even whatever little facilities we had in Government Medical College, he proved it that it is a chronic inflammatory granuloma and need not be curated all the time. Rather, we should be injecting depomedrol in it, and for that paper he won the first prize. And since then his research mind went on.
Dua, unlike any other resident, was the only one who himself typed his own thesis. In those days, and I'd like to remind Dr. Dua that all other theses were typed by the librarian Mr. Atre in those days. I must mention here that the topic of his subject chosen by him was related to sympathetic ophthalmia. He postulated days ahead of those days and also documented through animal experiments that it is the combination of 2 antigens which has capacity to induce intense immunological response and immune-mediated disease of much greater intensity. My comprehension of the work is not precise. He raised antibodies against the antigens in rabbits. This work was helped by then Professor of Microbiology, late Dr. Mrs. Jagtap, who helped him a lot. Dr. Dua was also politically motivated, but in miniaturized form. He was our March secretary in 1976-77 during residency.
I thought he said mad secretary, but it was Maharashtra Association of Resident
Doctors.
Yeah. Yes, I remember I learned to type on a portable typewriter. Then I typed many theses, and Dr. Atal was a physician. Then I was working in his firm during my SHO. So I typed even his wife's thesis, Prabha Panpalia, in my spare time. Then he used to say, Dua is an orator, debater, and typewriter.
Sir, in 2013, you created history. How did you feel when a part of the body was actually named after you, and what were the roadblocks that you faced on your journey of research?
Well, research, as I tell all my juniors, that it's 9 times failure, 1 time success. But that 1 time makes it worth it. So nothing comes easy, and it's always hurdles, and not just like hurdles of money and equipment, but even things just don't work the way you think they will, because nature is not that simple. You have to keep probing, and then you find, and often it is by accident that you find the answer. sometimes you actually dream of the answer, which is strange. You can be, I think if you're thinking about something all the time and the answers come to you in your dream or in your subconscious and you go and try it and it works. So that is something true about, and I'm sure all artists will tell you, musicians, they're looking for a tune and then they dream it and they work up and so on. But for this particular piece of research, there were so many little clues, when we did this operation of deep anterior lamellar keratoplasty in patients, that didn't add up. That, everybody said we are exposing the descemet membrane, we are exposing, but it didn't feel right. So, and this is something I tell, there's so many times there are little things that niggle you and we just brush them aside, So I said we should just stop or write them down. But one day the answer to something big lies in that small little query you had, and your patients teach you a lot, because all this comes from observations on patients. So that then we felt that, look, there is another layer. So once we had enough clues, then we actually went and did the experiment, simple experiments in eye bank eyes, and we were able to prove it. So it's always good to be able to prove something which you hypothesize by evidence, and it's then the proof of the pudding is when it gets published, and then of course depending on how the fraternity, the profession looks at it and accepts it or otherwise. But it's been good since then. Initially there was always there is something new. There's always a resistance, but that's behind me now.
You must have received thousands of compliments and responses to your discovery. What were some of the notable ones?
Yeah, so I'm not going to. That's interesting because you receive this award, that cup, that oration, that medal. Those are all up there, which is good. But simple things like this, when I first presented this as my talk in the Eucornea Medal lecture, one of the very world famous, in fact, he gave the Eucornea Medal lecture today, Donald Tan from Singapore, and he had said, we will have to rewrite the textbooks. But everybody who was doing the operation suddenly related to it. There were so many unanswered questions, and they all fell into place. That kind of a compliment. I was in Dubai once, and I gave this talk, and then this Dr. Salah came to me and he says, Professor Dua, I am not surprised that you discovered this layer. I'm disappointed that I did not, because I see it in my eyes every day, but I never stop to think about it. That kind of a thing. And those kind of compliments are very natural and very not the routine ones. I think those were very, very
mean a lot
comments. But then recently, there was some controversy initially. Then the American Association of Ocular Oncologists and Pathologists, they wrote to me to say that they are going to call this the Dua fine layer. There's a small different story about it, and have actually published it in the textbook of this histology and atlas of ocular pathology, which that association publishes. So it is in that book now, and it's in several textbooks now or in monographs. So those are more enduring and rewarding.
Yeah. So one of the senior most professors in cornea in India wants to share his views on this.
Wow.
Professor Harminder Singh Dua, who has been credited with the discovery of 6th corneal layer, that is pre-descemetic corneal layer. It's appropriately, aptly, correctly named Dua's layer in lieu of his consistent research, clinical work, and dedication for so many decades. The discovery of Dua's layer in 2013, we now understand very clearly that there are 3 types of bubbles in deep antilamellar keratoplasty creation, and his description, the lucid description of these 3 types of bubble, their dynamicity in relation to a formation of these bubbles in deep antilamellar keratoplasty has made us understand the difficult surgery and predict our outcome better way in different scenarios. Now, we all have shifted from a DSEC to DMEC. We understand DMEC is much more physiological surgery, where we are replacing only the descendant endothelial complex of a diseased cornea with a healthy donor. Conventionally, we have been doing DMEC with older age donors so that stripping a donor can be easier. But with the discovery of Dua's layer and the type 1 bubble could be created in these donor corneas to achieve at least 8 millimeter of descendant endothelial complex after creation of bubble has given us a new technique for endothelial keratoplasty known as PDEC, and that was possible only because of Dr. Dua's contribution in this field. In fact, I could say the actual customization of corneal procedures has been greatly achieved by this identification of Dr. Dua's layer. I have known him for many years. He has been an inspiring force to all of us. Whenever I have met, I have gained knowledge from him in scientific fields. His humility, his poetry is known to all of us. I can understand meeting him, the younger generation will also understand how things can be done, how we can achieve success in the field of ophthalmology. Being an Indian and knowing him for so many years really gives a proud moment for me as well as for all Indians that he has put us in the world map. I can understand he and his team of people working day and night in the clinical and research areas, and I appreciate he'll be coming out with much more discoveries in this field, and I wish him all the success and wish him that we can meet him in future in person. Thank you again.
That was
Thank
so
you.
amazing, sir.
Well, he's a great person himself,
Truly inspirational, sir. So I'd like to dedicate a couplet from one of my poems to you, which I think truly describes you perfectly. So it goes like, क्यों न हम इतिहास में लिख दे हमारी दास्तां, क्यों न हम इतिहास में लिख दे हमारी दास्तां, हम जहाँ रखें कदम निकले वहीं से कारवां.
वाह और कदमों के निशा पे चलते और कदम दिख जाए,
क्या
तो
बात है,
तेरा चलना सफल मुसाफिर रास्ते जहाँ ले जाए.
क्या बात है, great. Sir, you must have traveled so far and wide, and I'm sure your family must be so proud of your achievements. What was the role of your family in your success?
Well, family is always there. That's the pillar, of strength behind you. And but I could have done more, but I'd sort of travel and work and coming home late and all that was a price you pay always with that. So, and the price is something that's paid by the family. And there are certain moments in the kids growing up and all that you miss out, because then work can be quite all-consuming. However, we had our moments together, and of course, my wife said the good thing about COVID is you haven't gone out anywhere for the last 6 months and not one trip abroad. So she said, I've seen more of you in these 6 months than I've ever seen you in all these years. So yeah, but it was, of course, without family support and the knowledge that.
Right. So she has a message for you. I'd like you to hear it. Just a minute.
Hi, Sunshine. Congratulations. Yet another feather in your cap. I'm really proud of you, as are your kids. And every time you come home with the award now, I just think, oh my goodness, where are we going to put it next? All that I can say is you deserve each and every accolade. You work very hard, very long hours, very kind, and hardworking, and you always are willing to help your colleagues. You love your family without a shadow of doubt, and not spent as much time as you should have. I think because of the long hours you worked. Uh, Very, very religious, there's no doubt about it. And cricket is a passion which he will find time to watch in spite of a busy workload. We've had good years together. We've been married now, for 40 years? But I think we've really lived together for 20 years because you've been away half the time. Although having said that, over the last 5 months with the lockdown and COVID, I've seen a lot more of you because you've not been going for any meetings and just doing the webinars from home. Here's to the next 40 years and lots more achievements. Love you loads. Bye.
Talking about my brother-in-law, Dr. Dua, takes me back as a teen when eye procedures were slightly scary for me, as my first eye was removed rather painfully by someone in the family, and it recurred, and once again I was on my way back to the medical college to get it removed. It was then that my sister Rita told me that Nannu, Professor Dua, would be doing the procedure this time, and so I thought, let's give it a try. And we started, and I never realized that it was already over, and it happened with so much of ease, without pain, and with such finish that the matter was settled. And it was then that I realized my sister had made the right choice. Years have passed since then, and we have seen Professor Dua achieve success and progress from one level to another as a surgeon, as a researcher, as a helpful guide, and also
I've obviously known Dad for my whole life, which at this point is a fair amount of time. But throughout that time, there's one thing sort of I've always known, and that he's very, very hardworking. And thinking back to, when I was a younger person and a child, that didn't seem to impact on any of the memories that I have of him. I always remember him sort of being there for us as and when we needed him, helping us out with school, outside of school, etc. And it's not really until I was older that I began to realise and understand how impressive and amazing, what his achievements have become and what he's accomplished. Ones that I don't think any of us could be more proud of him for doing. And it's amazing to see someone who is clearly so passionate about what he does and actually then take that passion and make significant differences to those around him as well as in the world. And I think, if I even achieve 1/10 of what he has, I would consider myself extremely lucky.
That was so heartwarming, sir.
I know, but people say, how do you describe, how do you achieve your work-life balance? And I would say, my wife does the work and I come home from conference and stand on the balance to see how much I've put on from the conference dinners. Yeah, that probably sums it up. Yeah, that's great to hear that, Yeah.
Sir,
Tanuj speaks very little. I think that's the longest I've heard him speaking.
So, what you're thinking of education, what is the major difference that you have found between the medical education in India and abroad?
The education in India is very good. Believe me, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have achieved what I have or gone. The knowledge, Indian education is very knowledge-based, at least in the days when I was there. So you had all the knowledge. but the practical application of that knowledge was not so well developed in Indian education system, at least for medical education. So when you came here and you had the knowledge, and then you learned that bit, so everything just went straight up. So that, I think, was the key difference between the two. So here, for example, now medical students are in the wards from year one. And I'm sure it might be happening in India as well. So they learn the practical skills and the knowledge from the patients rather than get all the knowledge first and then try to understand how it works in the patients. That's the difference I found from the beginning.
So you have been an exemplary teacher and all your students adore you. Here's what they wish to say for you. Just a moment.
Professor Dua is someone we all look up to for our understanding about cornea and ocular surface. And I'm proud to know him from close quarters, and I saw him closely being such a passionate researcher, a keen clinician, and a masterly teacher that he is. And I think one of the best things about Professor Dua is that you can go and ask him any question at any time of the day, even the most basic ones. And he's always there to sit with you and have a discussion with you about it until it is clear in your head. If you're ever lost in your life, you can always go and talk to him, and he's there to guide you. And I think that's the best part about him, that he doesn't judge, and he's just there for you whenever you need the support. Yes, and I was very lucky to be under him, to have worked with him. My understanding of cornea is way better than how it was before. It clearly has made a difference. And thank you very much, Prof, for the opportunity to work with you. And it was truly a life-changing experience for me. Thank you very much.
I had the honor and privilege to work with him for about 3 years. He's an exceptionally talented professor, and I've learned a lot from him as a researcher, teacher, and clinician. There is so much to say about Professor Dua and his dedication to work and to his students. The first thing that inspired me when I joined his team was his unique ability to observe and link apparently unrelated ideas together, and how he can transform simple observations that are easily overlooked by most researchers into meaningful conceptions. Another unique characteristic that caught my attention was how he maintains his continuous enthusiasm despite his overwhelming achievements. His enthusiasm to research and teaching has been infectious to everyone in his team. He taught me that failure means trying harder, and he has the ability to explain complex research ideas and techniques in a very simple manner. Despite he is an internationally renowned professor and his name was coined in the innovative discovery of the Dua's layer, he is a very humble human being who feels and shares his students' anxiety and support them unconditionally. I had so memorable time with him and just can't say how much I'm grateful to him for teaching and supporting and helping me to achieve my career aspiration. I have tremendously enjoyed my time working with Professor Dua at the University of Nottingham, not only working as part of his team, but I have equally enjoyed socializing and sharing various social events and continuously laughing and enjoying his jokes and sense of humor.
That was truly sweet, sir.
Yeah, I know how you found his contact. He's in Aswan in Egypt. Yeah.
So speaking of research, considering your love for research, definitely you must be having a lot of other exciting projects. So what's your next project, and 10 years hence, from the perspective of research, where do you think ophthalmology would be?
Well, I can tell you what we are working on now. So we have two or three major prongs of research. With regard to the layer, I think we've already published that it continues as the trabecular meshwork. So the trabecular meshwork is a continuation of this layer. So its implications in glaucoma is what we are looking at. We just got 2 small grants to work that out. And we think that it will be completely outside the box look at glaucoma, particularly the way the pressure is maintained. All glaucoma surgeons look at the cornea, corneal thickness, corneal resilience, and corneal resistance, and all that, and predict outcomes of glaucoma. And it's not just because it's a surrogate marker, because it is a continuation. And we all make the big mistake, thinking about, never mind the eye as separate from the rest of the body, but thinking of each part of the eye separate from each other. The cornea doesn't know it's not part. The cornea is continuous with the rest. So I remember once in a talk I gave, the eye is an organ located in an orbit, which is part of the skull, that houses the brain and is attached by the neck to the rest of the human body, right? And it is the patient, which is what we are talking about, not the eye or any other part of the body. And when I given my talk, there is one of the other professors in the audience from some European country came to me and said, I wrote that statement, do you have your permission to use it? I said, of course. So the cornea is a continuation of the trabecular mesh. And I think therein will lie some answers to glaucoma, which we are exploring. The other area is these antimicrobial peptides. So in fact, one of the major parts of my basic research has been on antimicrobial peptides and ocular surface immunology. These are like antibiotics are produced by bacteria that kill other bacteria or by fungi and kill fungi. The mammalian cells or all nucleated cells, which are the eukaryocytes, they also produce antibiotics, which are these substances. They have a lot of physiological actions, and they also have antimicrobial action against a whole range of bacteria, gram-positive, negative fungi, and envelope viruses. So we were the first to discover this in the human eye. In fact, in the eye in any species, published it in 1998 in The Lancet, the first paper. And since then, we've discovered about 7 or 8 of them, and others have done a lot of work. But recently, what we've shown is that these agents can be hybridized. So if it's a molecule is that long, your finger, but that is the active part. You can cleave that part out by molecular techniques, and you can hybridize that with another active part of another AMP and another antimicrobial, and that hybrid can, in combination with others, be more effective in killing bacteria on the eye, and also in combination with antibiotics. So we just published a paper that if you take vancomycin, which has very little effect on Pseudomonas, but if you combine it with one of these hybrids, the two together synergistically do a big kill action on Pseudomonas. So I think the ability to use novel agents to kill bacteria and treat infections, and we are uniquely placed because in the eye we have to only put drops. You don't have to give them systemically and have systemic side effects. And antimicrobial resistance is one of the major threats and problems in the world today. So that's the other area where I think we will see a lot of growth and in combating infections. And at least that's what we are doing in terms of work in our laboratory in the future. And ophthalmology, they say of medicine is the only profession that is constantly striving to eliminate the very cause of its existence, right? A very profound statement. So we developed all these surgeries and endothelial keratoplasty and everything. And now we're going to inject cells in the anterior chamber to treat endothelial dystrophy. So I think that's what will happen within the next 10 years, definitely.
That's so incredible, sir. So true. So every ophthalmologist and every scientist and everyone who knows you looks up to you with great admiration and respect. So here are some of the messages for you. Just a moment, sir.
I'm so very thankful to the destiny that I was a student of Government Medical College at a point of time where Dr. Harminder was a senior mentor of mine who really generated and chiseled me in that particular format, which I have availed in all subsequent times to come. I record my salutations to this legendary orator, blessed with oratorial skills unparalleled and impeccable in character. I pay my salutations. I hold him as a role model for this particular venture being incorporated in my life. My respectful regards to my legendary mentor, friend, philosopher and guide. Thank you.
1980. Dr. Harman Durduwa, an ace debater of his undergraduate days, had already become a popular teacher in ophthalmology for residents like me. I recall his early promise in form of an award-winning paper on ocular immunology in the VOS meet. The judges were Drs. Nagpal, Dr. Badrinath and Dr. Kanti Modi from Mumbai, all legends in themselves. A decade and a quarter later, in 1993, during my observership at Wills Eye Hospital, Philadelphia, in USA, I met him again. Dr. Dua, after finishing his FRCs from England, had joined Wills to pursue his passion of research in cornea. I managed to get a promise from him to be our faculty in the VOS Silver Jubilee meet in 2000. 2000 arrives and the whole of Vidarbha looked expectantly to welcome its son, Dr. Dua. He was accorded a hero's welcome, and it has been a pleasure and a privilege to bestow on him the inaugural Dr. Madan Gopal Oration Award. Dr. Dua's qualities of dedication, sincerity, perseverance and passion, coupled with his clinical surgical skills and acumen, to add to that his great communication skills, all have helped him transform from a local hero to an English star and now to the exalted status of a world authority on cornea. Very aptly said, this is the stuff the legends are made of. My salutes to this rarer of the rare gems of Nagpur, Vidarbha, India and now the whole world. Wishing you the best, sir.
Not only has he a great mind, and he has an unbelievable power of observation, so he will see very little signs which everybody will miss, and then think about it, analyze it, and then follow it, and that's how he made his great achievements. And he's got an ability to work non-stop. So he always tells me, if you love your work, you don't have to work a minute in your life. And I think that's the dictum he follows. He's very humble and approachable as well. So I don't think people who meet him believe that such a highly achieved person can be so easygoing, and he's got such a great sense of humor, and he makes people laugh all the time and puts that very positive energy around him that people always are drawn to him and want to hear him and follow him.
Thank you so much, madam, for your valuable inputs.
Okay, so one question I would like to ask is, so suppose you had a second chance to relive your life and do things all over again, would you do anything differently?
Oh, well, the only thing I might do different is open a mithai ki dukaan. Then I can have any amount of that. I was telling, maybe I would do something in a restaurant or something.
You had,
but not. I'm not saying that if I could not do what I'm doing, then that's what I would do. Not if I had to start again, I would prefer that. No, I would be probably quite happy and content with what I did and follow the same path. Yeah.
So you've had such a hectic lifestyle. How was a typical weekday in your schedule?
Well, it's usually sleep deprived. So I get up at 7 and I go to bed at about 1 or 2 in the night, and it's all work. So I come back from work. I leave for work at 8 in the morning, and then I leave my workplace at 7:30 or 8. I get home, have dinner, then sit down, listen to the news and start again. But on the weekends, I do make it a point to do 2 hours of exercise. So I run 5.5 miles and do some weights and sit-ups. So at least 2 hours of exercise Saturday and Sunday. So that's the only exercise I get.
And how did you unwind, sir? I believe you write lovely poems. So
I do sometimes, and then I like any TV show that's makes you laugh. So like Tom and Jerry is the best, and or any comedy show. And then of course I have to watch a movie and prefer. Then of course my wife likes some of the sob movies, and I go for action movies. But that's it. But I write poem. Usually when I'm traveling and I have spare time. In the olden days, your battery used to run out on your computer, so then I used to sit and write. And so mostly in Hindi, but some in English. Yeah.
Anything you would like to recite to us?
Yeah, I'll do some couplets if you don't mind.
Yes.
What I've done is, to make it familiar for my, the friends also to know. I've translated them into English as well, in a kind of a rhyme. So, for example, alag alag hai boliyan, sab samajh saka na koy, har manush ki ek bhasha jab wo hase ya roye. So, it means no one can speak all languages, no matter what you try. All humans speak one language when they laugh or cry.
Wow.
So, like that. So it's like प्रभु दर्शन के राह अलग, राह मजहब कहलाए, मजहब में फिर भेद क्यों जब पहुंचे एक हो जाए. And पानी पानी सब तरफ, सागर प्यास न बुझाए, इतना खारा मत कर जीवन खुद प्यासा रह जाए.
क्या बात है सर. Wow. Absolutely touching.
रूप और रंग से वन के फूल सबके मन को भाए, किनके भीतर शहद भरा कोई विष के बूंद छिपाए. So it's like with form and color, the flowers of the forest attract all to their side. Some are filled with honey, other drops of poison hide. So I try and change that. There is गुजरे पल का कल हुआ, कल क्या जाने लाए, दो काल के बीच में आज क्यों व्यर्थ गवाए. And they're like these, it's प्यार और ज्ञान को बांट ले, जो पाए सुख पाए, प्यार और ज्ञान वस्तु नहीं जो बांटे से घट जाए.
क्या बात. So truly touching.
कोसों की उड़ान को भर के परिंदा घर लौट आए, नसीब अपना जान मुसाफिर तो जो तुझको घर मिल जाए. तो यहाँ पे ना ये कलर के बारे में बहुत होता है, कोई वाइट ब्राउन रेसिस. तो उसके ऊपर एक बार लिखा था, जिस रंग में ढाला तुझको मान ले वही रंग, जिस रंग में ढाला तुझको मान ले वही रंग, गिरने लगते हरे पत्ते रंग बदलते संग. क्योंकि यहाँ पे ऑटम बहुत आता है, सारे पत्ते गिर जाते हैं, तो रंग मत बदलो.
Super, amazing, wonderful.
Good.
Beautiful, sir.
Thank you.
खजाना है बस, खजाना. Lovely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So we would be now going ahead with the rapid fire round, which is the last round. So these would be question and answers in rapid succession. So I'd like to request you to please answer at the very first thought that comes to your mind.
Okay. Then you can edit it afterwards, right?
So shall we start, sir?
Sure.
So you've been a role model to so many. Who is your role model? Apart from, you already mentioned Dr. Ishwar Chandra, sir.
Yeah, there was Peter Leibson, who is still very well my mentor in the States. And I still talk to him and get to him. Yeah. please.
In fact, sir, I tried to reach out to him, but unfortunately I couldn't connect. Okay. First thing that comes to your mind when I say the following. One country.
India.
Two, passion.
Cricket.
Three, bliss.
Sorry?
Bliss.
Bliss. Family.
Wow. One thing that's closest to your heart.
Oh, there are many things. Yeah. Again, it is family and friends.
Okay. So you achieved so much in life. Is there anything you regret?
Oh, from time to time, I've told lots of people, if I had the patience and the material of India and the resources of the UK, I could have achieved a lot more in a lot shorter period of time. So we didn't have the resources in India, which was one of the reasons I had to leave. But that's small reward. Yeah.
So who would you want to be reborn as?
Oh, somebody asked me that question before, and actually somebody came and told me, this Mr. Keeler, he's a Keeler Instruments, and
yes,
he was in an interview and he asked somebody, who would you want to be reborn as? And he said, Professor Du. Yeah, I think I would be probably, I'd like to be reborn as a musician. That, if you look at it, there's one thing, music, which I never learned, I never understand, and but I really love to listen to songs, and all the time when I have a spare moment, not in front of the computer, even here sometimes I was put on old Hindi songs and listen to them, and I've got that Karawan thing, which has thousands of songs, but I can't do it, and I always think that is something I would like to do.
Okay. So what do you enjoy more, being a clinician or a researcher?
Clinician. Everything in my research comes from clinical questions and from patients. Yeah, that is. I think I wrote once, somebody, that I'm trying to recollect those exact words, but as a doctor, we owe it all to our patients. They have to be number one in everything we do, and the thing is, they have so much faith and trust in us, and said your patients will reward you more than no money can, and your patients will. There was something else I said, but at the end of it, I said that the patients will think you are God. You have to prove them right.
So beautiful. Too good. So you've had so many high moments. Which do you consider as the highest moment?
Well, if you talk about professional life, right, and in my profession, I think this Queen's Honors Award was a very high moment, but almost in parallel with that was the day I became president of the Royal College of Ophthalmologists, because that was a very prestigious position, the first time for somebody from overseas, and the responsibility so that I thought those were the two real highlights here, professionally.
So apart from so many things, which is one thing that you would like people to remember about you?
Oh, just me. Just what I am, and all these things come and go, these accolades, these awards, these things. But if anybody can pick any aspect of anybody's life and make a difference to their own, I think that's worth it, no matter what it is.
One thing the world doesn't know about you.
Sorry? What the world doesn't know about me? What? I don't know what they don't know. A lot of people don't know much about me, in fact. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. That
My
was
pleasure.
truly insightful. So
Thank you.
before we sign off, any specific message that you would like, piece of advice to all of us, and especially to the Nagpurians?
Well, yes, to Nagpurians is actually that's where I lived 14 years there, and so what I am, I owe it to Nagpur, and that's why when you said we welcomed the son of Vidarbha back home, and that was so true. And generally to everybody that when you want something and you want to achieve something, don't give up, because always there is another way of getting it there, and don't wait for the big things to achieve the small things. You wait for, I'll get this electron microscope, I'll get that, then I'll start. No, start with small things, do what you can with that, and you will then build and build and build. So don't wait for the big things to start what you want to achieve, even if that is small. Start with the small things, and that will be the first. Like they say, it's a very well-known saying that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one small step. So don't forget that.
Anything you would like to say in Marathi to all our
Okay, Marathi.
Maharashtrian viewers?
मी नागपुरातील माझे सर्व मित्रांच्या सहकार्याबद्दल आभारी आहे. त्यांच्या मदतीने मी इथे पोहोचलो.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for sparing your valuable time, being with us today, and sharing so many lovely parts of your life. I'd also like to thank everyone who gave me their inputs and shared their lovely memories. Professor Dr. Titial sir, Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra sir, Dr. Anand Pangarkar, Dr. Sulma Deshpande ma'am, Dr. Suryavanshi sir, Dr. Amrinder Bajaj ma'am, Mr. Rajiv Chabra, Dr. Rita Dua ma'am, Mr. Tanuj, Dr. Rashmi Deshmukh, Dr. Andrew Ross, everyone for sharing their lovely memories. Like to thank FDC Pixel for their technical support, and my team at my hospital, my IT team, for helping me put all of this together. So I enjoyed every moment today of our interaction, and I hope you enjoyed it too.
Thank you, I did. Thank you very much for all your effort that you're doing, and good luck to you in your career and in everything you undertake.
Thank you, sir. And I truly enjoyed every moment, and I hope all our viewers also will be as inspired as I am by all your words of wisdom. Best wishes to you, sir, and your family. Wishing you great happiness and joy and good health. And I've learned tremendously today, sir, from our interaction and what I've learned of you over the last so many days. You have taught us that success comes from curiosity, concentration, hard work, and perseverance. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.